FromSoftware have blessed the masochists of the gaming world with 6 amazing games, and also Demon Souls. And these games get me moister than an oyster. So if you like cryptic storytelling, unforgiving combat, and controller-breaking difficulty spikes, well, the Soulsborne games are just for you. I'll be ranking these bad boys from Demon Souls all the way up to Elden Ring. Let's go! The granddaddy of the Souls-like genre, this is the game that started it all. The legend himself, Miyazaki, joined halfway through the project. It was a bloody mess when he came in, but he saw potential. Sony, on the other hand, did not. Sony, being Sony, which will come up again later, wanted a cookie-cutter accessible RPG. This led to the FromSoft team lying to Sony about what they were making. Good on them. Sony was so poopy about the game that they chose not to release it outside of Japan. Luckily for us, Atlas and Bandai Namco stepped in and released the game in North America and Europe respectively. It exploded, and Sony got a nice slice of humble pie, you dumb fuck. Is the game good? Yes. Is it great though? Nah. Look, I've got to give them credit. Limitations of the time, and trying something new, and then Sony trying to wear the dev team like Kermit the fucking Frog, it was an uphill battle. But it is the weakest of the Soulsborne games. The bosses are slow and telegraphed that you really feel stupid when one of them gets a hit on you. It had a lot of weird systems in place which thankfully stayed as a Demon Souls exclusive because they are horrible. Luckily the remaster has added some quality of life improvements, but still it smells of 2009. It is a game still worth experiencing once if you like the genre, but honestly you can miss it and not feel bad about it. Or you can play it and then feel bad about it. I've got to go with my gut here and pop it where it deserves to be, C tier. Oh boy, this is quite a game. Originally FromSoft wanted to build on the success of Demon Souls with a sequel, but Sony owning the rights and being absolute pricks to work for, they partnered with Bandai Namco and Dark Souls was born. Now the game shows its age, it looks horrible. Luckily I played the remaster, which also looks horrible, but with some shininess. The combat is also very clunky. Some of these enemies, if they were dumped in later games, would be easier than folding a single sheet, but the combat in Dark Souls 1 just makes it more like fitting a king-size fitted sheet that's stretched out and on fire. But good God, these mean nothing compared to the rest of it. The world firstly is one of the best designed in gaming history. Interconnected areas of the world make the place feel massive and real. Seeing areas in the far distance, knowing that you can go there, just reinforced a sense of adventure and discovery. The lack of a traditional map meant you not only felt the need to explore, but also memorize paths and shortcuts. The iconic bonfire system replaced Demon Souls' archstones. The also iconic Estus Flask replaced Demon Souls' grass system crap. We got iconic boss fights like Ornstein and Smaug, Artorias, and Gwyn, which felt like cinematic masterpieces. The cryptic storytelling let you use your imagination instead of holding your hand. Man, it is a great game. But it also has Blighttown in it, so it's bottom tier. Nah, even with that absolute cancer of an area, this game is just so good that I can't do it. So for one of the most influential games of all time, I have to rank it at an A. The black sheep of the Soulsborne saga. For Dark Souls 2, unfortunately Miyazaki was off doing other things at the time. But not wanting to lose momentum off of Dark Souls' massive success, the show must go on. This game has some issues. So let's get them out of the way first. The new stat, adaptability, is absolutely atrocious. It made dodging a pain. Your maximum health reducing after death until using a human effigy. Who the hell thought of that? Easier access to fast travel, which removed the sense of discovery you got in the first game. Enemies would stop respawning after being killed enough times. How the hell am I supposed to farm now? Trailers promising advanced lighting and physics effects, which was heavily downgraded by launch. Multiple delays, technical struggles, and huge changes to the game late in development. The game was not looking like the worthy successor many were hoping for. And for some, this is the case. It has the fan base divided. Some really dislike this game, but others, like me, really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, it is weaker than Dark Souls 1, by a long way, like a long way. But it's got a lot of content, and the Three Crowns DLC really expanded on it. Despite its controversy, this game, while not one I'd be eager to jump back into anytime soon, was still much better than many of the Souls-like copycats that have since followed. And for that, I gotta place this one in B. By the time Dark Souls 3 went into development, Bloodborne had released and made FromSoftware an absolute juggernaut in the gaming industry. Miyazaki returns for the final chapter and combining the best elements from all the previous games into one sweet, sexy package. And oh boy, is it good. The faster combat of Bloodborne mixed with the methodical gameplay of Dark Souls, this thing is its own beast. On top of more fluid combat, we got weapon arts. Giving each weapon special abilities just added depth and variety to combat. Being able to allocate Estus Flask between health and focus points allowed deeper strategic customization. Multi-phase boss fights made these battles feel increasingly epic. Selling over 10 million copies, the game quickly became a fan favourite, and I can see why. Graphically, this game was mind-blowing at the time. Seeing a recreated Anor Londo again was such a surreal, heartwarming, but PTS-inducing experience. I absolutely love the new style of combat. While some hardcore fans didn't like the departure from the slower, methodical combat of Dark Souls 1, I honestly saw it as a big improvement. It just made every encounter more enjoyable while being equally as difficult. FromSoft now had the perfect formula, and I honestly think it's the best of the trilogy. Just talking about it makes me want to go and boot it back up actually. So I gotta give Dark Souls 3 a big old S tier. While Miyazaki's absence had a huge effect on Dark Souls 2's development and overall quality, he also created this. So I guess he can be forgiven. Shifting away from dark fantasy, Miyazaki wanted to base the game in a Gothic horror setting with Lovecraftian themes, two things he had grown up with and loved in his childhood. Starting off as a spiritual successor to Demon Souls, it did not take long for this thing to become its own beast. The combat was an evolution of the existing formula. Blocking, which was a staple in the Dark Souls games, was completely removed, in favour of dodging and counterattacks. The game pushed players into a more aggressive playstyle, which for me was just perfect. I'm not a patient man. The game starts off with Gothic horror themes, but by the second half shifts into cosmic horror, completely changing how the game felt up to this point. The only downside at launch was the excessive load times, which was later fixed in patches, making it a near perfect experience. Adding one of FromSoft's best DLCs to date, the Old Hunters added some of the series' most memorable boss fights to date. I had an absolute blast with Bloodborne. Besides being a decade old now, it is still one of the best gaming experiences out there. This brings me to my issue though. God damn Sony. One of the most universally acclaimed games of all time, fans have been begging for a 60 frames per second patch, a sequel, and most notably a remake or a remaster for new hardware. Just release the bloody thing on PC and let the community do your job for you, Sony. But no, Sony is playing gatekeeper and has no intentions at this point of doing anything with the title, which is a shame. Unless you had a PS4, this title was not for you. With Sony now releasing their titles on the Steam store, hopefully, with fingers crossed, we get a PC port so millions of new players can experience this gem firsthand. With that said, is it any surprise that this is sitting in S tier? No? Very good. Moving on. Man, I love me some Japanese history and mythology, and Sekiro, well, that's kind of what it's all about. Moving away from a lot of FromSoft's RPG elements like character creation, stats, and weapon variety, you play as an already defined character, the Wolf, a one-armed shinobi. Stamina was removed and replaced with posture, forcing players to deflect attacks and break enemy guard rather than just attacking all willy-nilly. Stealth came to the forefront and got a much needed overhaul, something previous titles were lacking. And there was a clear narrative. No more cryptic storytelling and piecing the story together yourself. It was a little more spoon-fed than our usual Soulsborne experience. The game had no ability to grind, so the saying "get good" really stands true here. You need to build your own skills, not level your way out of a harder situation. Now this game is cited as the hardest in the whole series by being so different in how the combat is handled, and I'd have to agree. Up to a point. Your first few hours are going to be an absolute shit show, I'm warning you now. An enemy that is not a basic grunt has the ability to end your run very quickly, but after a little while, all of a sudden, you'll get a little light bulb above your head. Something just clicks. You understand the patterns and the mechanics and you just become an unstoppable force. Don't get me wrong, there will be fights later that will humble the hell out of you, the Guardian Ape for instance, but it still doesn't feel unfair. Repetition is just the key here. Selling over 10 million copies and winning the 2019 Game of the Year award, Sekiro is a hard as balls, one-of-a-kind action-adventure game that everyone should experience. I bloody love this game. I was on the fence of where to put it and I had settled on A, but after reminiscing on my time with it for this video, nah, Sekiro is S tier all the way. FromSoftware's magnum opus. This game was their most ambitious by a considerable margin. The now perfected Soulsborne formula set in an absolutely massive open world with George R.R. Martin providing the world building and lore. It was the most anticipated game of the decade. While the previous titles had a semi-open world feel to them, this was a true open world experience. So the sense of wonder and discovery you got from the previous titles was just magnified massively. You wanted to look along every face cliff or in every forest because there was a metric shit ton of hidden dungeons and bosses. You could see a castle in the distance and think, let's go take a lookie, then find it to have a huge underground area and a hard as nails boss fight. And it's not even story related, it is literally just a random castle that you could easily skip if you want. And that's the beauty of this game. You can play exactly how you want. A boss or an area giving you trouble? Stuff it. Go somewhere else for a bit. Deal with it later. Want to bypass some enemies to explore and find new hidden secrets? Go for it. Jump on Torrent, your double jumping horse, and cruise past enemy classes with ease. This game was much more accessible than previous titles, and for many like me, this was their first experience with a Souls-like game. I had never played them before. My mate wanted a co-op partner and bought it for me, and I went in completely blind, not knowing the pain I was about to go through. After about 20 hours, I had bought the Dark Souls trilogy, Sekiro, and Bloodborne, so I could keep the experience going for as long as possible. This is a game that got me into these ultra hard types of games. Souls-likes and to a lesser extent roguelikes were now opened up to me. This game was life-changing in how I tackle games as well. I'd usually just keep the game at the preset middle difficulty, but now I'm finding I'm putting things up harder just for that rush. Within a year, the title had surpassed 20 million copies. To no one's surprise, it took home the 2022 Game of the Year award, beating out God of War Ragnarok, a heavy contender which I honestly thought was a shoo-in, but then I played Elden Ring and I was like, oh, yeah, no, this is it. This game is not only, in my humble opinion, the absolute best Soulsborne game, it is one of the greatest games ever made. Its accessibility opened up many new players to the genre while maintaining the absolute brutal gameplay FromSoft veterans fell in love with. The top of S tier. I know it's probably not where many others would place it, but it was such a great gaming experience for me. One I've returned to multiple times, which I rarely do. I would feel dishonest if I put it lower to appease hardcore fans and purists. The game is just god tier to me. I am honestly nursing a semi waiting for Night Rain right now. A roguelike, Souls-like, FromSoft game is just a way to print money in my eyes. But we will tackle it at the end of May, and I'll be putting a ton of focus on the game in my future videos. So hopefully you enjoyed the tier list. Was I on the mark? Was I way off? Feel free to let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.